Actually, after Mr. Arnab's inaugurating talk, there's nothing left for me to speak because he summed up everything. And when you give the keynote address, you cannot venture into any specialist field because there are specialists sitting here. And the journalist thing has already been covered, so I don't know what is to be done, but I'll still make an endeavor. And great to see the galaxy of elites here. We have the Devendra to Devendra sitting this side, and of course from Dwivedi, where I have left, to Dikuna. So I can see all the kind of elites sitting here. So I'll try and take some names and miss out some names. So of course, Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhaduria sir, former Chief of Air Staff. And of course, Arun Sinha sir is here, our former chairman. Brahmos is here, General Dushyant is here, Devendra already spoken, and Baba Kalyani, who is the icon in all fields, so the leadership is concerned, Atmanirbharta is concerned, and G.D. Bakshi sir, whom we have been seeing from our academy days, that is from 1981 onwards, we have been following him. And good to see Baba Kalyani sir with full family. And again, so many people, but I may not be able to take the name, but I can just say that the senior leadership of the three services, officers and veterans, distinguished panelists, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone who is left out, consider that I have already addressed to you. So, firstly, it's a great privilege to come for this different kind of symposium or a conclave, where the audience is also of all flavors what we can talk about. And this is something where the first time the media house has, I think if I can say that, collaborated with the think tank of Army and tried to come out with a different flavor called as Forces First Conclave. This is timely as well as thoughtful, and it is reflecting the times of our, the realities what we are having. And in Mr. Arnab, if I need to say that he is the right combination of three P's, that is passion, perseverance, and purpose. So thank you for bringing us all together under one umbrella. So ladies and gentlemen, we live in an era of profound flux where the triad of competition, contestation, and conflict defines the character of interstate engagements. Almost every morning when you get up, we see a news of fresh strike in an ongoing conflict, not always kinetic. Sometimes in cyberspace, sometimes in narratives as already brought out. So across the world today, we have approximately 56 conflicts which are raging on with approximately 90 nations directly or indirectly. And it keeps changing every day, keeps increasing. It's not decreasing by any chance. So all this tells us that we live in an age of constant conflicts, if not wars. So even though Simon Sinek said that start with why? Understanding the causes of nation or the modern conflicts does not necessarily make its course any more predictable. If anything, it deepens the complexity of anticipating how and where the next spark may ignite. So against this backdrop, I intend to share my thoughts weaved around the four interlinked sub-themes of this conclave today. That is how future wars are unfolding before us, what we achieved and learned through Sindoor, how multi-domain operations are emerging as the new reality of warfare, and how these shifts are shaping our immediate neighborhood. So as I see in today's war, four distinct trends stand out. First one is comprehensive conflict. Every age had its own kind of war, its own limiting conditions, and its own peculiar preconceptions. This Clausewitz proclaimed in 19th century. Today, era of limited war has transformed into an age of comprehensive conflict. Ukraine and Gaza are wars that mobilize entire nations, where societies, industries, and technologies are all drawn into the fight. Sindu too reflected this transformation, where diplomacy, deterrence, and decisive force fused into a single expression of national resolve. The second trend is cycle of adaptation. As wars expand in their scale and complexity, they reaffirm what JFC Fuller once said, the constant tactical factor, that every improvement in weapons soon meets a counter improvement that renders it obsolete. We have seen in Ukraine, precision-guided munition that once promised surgical accuracy was soon blunted by the deep electronic warfare. Similarly, in the case of ratcheting technology competition of the unmanned aerial system, and counter unmanned aerial system. In our case, the first and the fifth generations of warfare, that is trench warfare to AI and quantum, coexist. That's a compulsion for us by virtue of our long land borders. And they also compete with each other for same existing space. The third trend is convergence of capability. This constant race of innovation has also leveled the landscape of war. Technology is leapfrogging beyond the speed of Moore's law, and only sitting here who's advocate of Moore's law, but it is much more crossed beyond that, and has become the great battle space equalizer, transcending through the various domains what we are going to talk about today. And the fourth trend is composition of conflict. The face of war itself has changed as much as its form. Wars today are not just waged by soldiers, but also terrorist groups, militias like the Wagner Group, citizen soldiers like the Ukrainians, and of course the narrative which is in the mind that whether you have won or not. So some of this was also witnessed during the Sindu. So what are the key takeaways? I feel the 5 most relevant key takeaways which I can give for the Indian context include, first, the land itself. As American writer Mark Twain once said, buy land, they are not making it anymore. So from evolving trends of modern warfare, one truth endures: land remains the currency of victory. Unlike other domains where destruction may suffice, land warfare demands destruction, eviction, occupation, and control that is physical, political, and psychological. And the cost of repetition, I would like to recall the recent Alaska conference which took place between the two great leaders, and they talked about exchange of land. Moving ahead to the second is the fallacy of short wars. If land remains the currency of victory, then time remains the true test. We are seeing it in almost every ongoing conflict. The next conflict in our region may be for 4 days, 4 months, or even 4 years. We cannot say for sure. And the third one is military-civil fusion with expanding space for conventional operations. In protected wars, the endurance is national, not just military, as already highlighted by Mr. Anna. Self-reliant defense industrial capabilities are no longer optional. They form the foundation of integrating civilian infrastructure, technology, and emerging concepts of citizen warriors into military strategy. And I just wish to tell you that if you believe in Atmanirbharta, you have the flexibility to change the tenor and the pace of the war by flexibility in your modifications, adaptation, and implementation of the latest technology. Fourth, the calculus of interdependence. Strategic autonomy, once seen as an end in itself, may increasingly evolve into strategic convenience or strategic hedging, where partnerships are shaped not by permanence but by pragmatism, even opportunism. Few call it quote-unquote constructivism. Fifth, conflicts in future war would be multidimensional, but we would do well to remember that all other forms of modern warfare thrive only when backed by potent, precise, and punitive conventional forces. So now let's move on to the new normal of Sindoor. Now, before I say anything as to the Sindoor is concerned, I would like to put on record, this is the first time that we have the polity, we had a clarity, and which had the confidence in their defense forces, and they said, we give you 100% freedom. Never ever I have seen this kind of a freedom given anywhere in the world. And that is the kind of a synergy, politico-military fusion that makes India so great country today. So as nation confront today shifting landscape, the real test lies not just in capability, but in clarity, how we think about the war itself. In warfare, there is often a temptation either to fight the last war or to suffer from next war-itis, the term popularized by former US Secretary of Defense Robert Gates. So the wisdom lies in balancing the two, drawing from experience while anticipating disruption. That balance between legacy and leap is what will define success in the era of constant change. And I'll take your mind back again to the 5 generations of warfare. We are constrained to fight the trench warfare as also leapfrog to artificial intelligence and quantum. So the logical question is, how much is India prepared for or responded? The answer lies in Sindoor. Every facet of modern warfare we discussed was evident in its planning and execution. It was like a rhythmic orchestra wherein all sounds played together in various decibels. To put it in simple words, rifleman to Rashtra, Jawan to Jahan worked in harmony. In just 88 hours, a new chapter was written in the history of warfare. Pakistan was compelled to seek a cessation of hostilities as the operation shattered its illusion of impunity, struck deep into its heartland, including Punjab and Rawalpindi, and punctured the nuclear bogey that had long constrained conventional response. What we achieved through Sindu was not by coincidence, but by deliberate design, driven by foresight, preparation, and organizational transformation. And the tri-service synergy, which became the strong point and which actually shook up the others, that how can they be three be so together, so closely working together and in unison. I think that was something phenomenal, and that has given us so much of results. The Indian Army's decade of transformation commenced in 2023 during General Pandey's time to align its structures, doctrines and mindset with evolving warfare. 2024 and 25 were declared as the years of technology absorption, and the Honorable Raksha Mantri designated 2025 as the year of reforms, affirming that transformation is not an event but a continuum. We have a number of new transformation structures in the making. Some are already out in the news, like Rudra, Bhairav and so many others. Others will be known later. So Sindoor also revealed a deeper truth about the changing character of war, that modern conflicts can no longer be confined to single domains. The same integration of land, air, cyber, space, information, electronic spectrum, and even the academia and industry, and on special request, now the narrative management system, that is the media, that defined Sindoor now points to the future of warfare, that is multi-domain operations. MDO is about creating simultaneity of effects, combining fires, influence, and information faster than adversary can react, also called as OODA loop. We have been working towards for over a year now, and we have had apex level MDO discussions and war games. So we were mentally prepared, and it gave us great dividends towards cross-domain application. So each of these domains merits deep separate discussion, but one fact stands out glaringly. The traditional land domain now integrates and projects across every dimension of technology and terrain. And this terrain includes the low altitude aerial battle space over the battlefield, sometimes called the air littoral. With the air littorals being saturated by the unmanned aerial system and counter-unmanned aerial systems, including the electromagnetic spectrum, the land forces need to find solutions to fully dominate it. As far as India's immediate neighborhood is concerned, India's civilizational vision of Vishwabandhu and Vishwamitra, these are the two aspects which guide us, seeking peace through equilibrium, friendship through strength, and inclusivity through preparedness. However, currently our immediate and extended neighborhood are experiencing some turbulence. Traditional rivalries, new alignments, internal transitions, everything is ongoing. Across South Asia, internal volatility, migration pressures, and external influence from Myanmar to Bangladesh, from Nepal's Gen Z activism to strategic recalibrations of Sri Lanka and Maldives, create a fluid and a contested environment. In the event of hostilities, we may be officially facing one adversary, but our resource and cognitive stretch would have to be applied in multiple directions. Is it more than 2.5? The answer is yes. So while navigating the uncertainties of VUCA environment, Indian Army ensured trustworthy strategic communication with all our neighbors, that is the military leaders, in a reassuring manner, and will continue to do so in the future too. Just this week, we hosted the first ever conclave of the Army Chiefs of United Nations troop contributing countries, with participation surprisingly from 32 countries from across the globe. This was much more than the expectation. A very well received event with constructive outcomes, wherein almost all our neighboring countries who contribute to the United Nations were present. India and its armed forces will always remain a significant net security provider in not only the immediate but also the extended neighborhood. We need to remain pivotal to any whole-of-nation approach towards this assurance endeavor. So to conclude, I would say, we live in an age of constant conflict and change. Our task is clear: to stay prepared, to stay purposeful and stay ahead in the evolution of warfare. The Indian military stands ready, lethal in capability, resolute in character, and united in cause. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind.